Good afternoon. I am Stefan Postolache, PhD student and assistant professor at the Instituto Universitário de Lisboa. My talk will focus mainly on the assessment of quality and safety of organic food, considering the studies on perception on organic food and instruments for detection and quantification of different components of organic food. I'll present what motivated me to investigate how the assessment of organic food is realized, what perception people have on organic food, some aspects related to organic food in Europe, and different methods that are currently used to assess the quality of food. People are paying attention to environmental, health, social, and ethical issues and are seeking value in food more than ever before. Even as societies become more urbanized, they want to feel closer to their food. They want food that is fresh, less processed, and sustainably sourced. And the calls for shorter supply chain have intensified during the current outbreak. Consumers should be empowered to choose sustainable food, and all actors involved in the food chain should see as their responsibility and opportunity. Between May 2011, a large outbreak caused by Escherichia coli that produced Shiga toxin occurred in northern Germany and western France. During this Escherichia coli variant outbreak were reported 4,075 cases of bloody diarrhea and 909 of hemolytic uremic syndrome, a serious condition that can lead to kidney failure. Throughout 22 European states, the estimated total loss of agriculture and industry despite the outbreak was 1.3 billion, and the costs of medical care for affected people exceeded 236 million. The wrongly accused Spanish cucumber growers were heavily affected. They lost as much as 200 million a week before the investigation determined what caused it. The main cause of this outbreak was the infected fenugreek sprouts from a German organic food farm with a type of E. coli bacteria. This example underscores the complexity of interactions between food systems, food production, food assessment, food transport, food storage and food sales, and health, agriculture, economy, and other components of different countries. The increasing recurrence of droughts, floods, forest fires, and new pests are a constant reminder that our food system is under threat and must become more sustainable and resilient. The COVID-19 pandemic has underlined the importance of a robust, resilient food system that functions in all circumstances and ensures access to a sufficient supply of affordable food for all citizens. It has also made us acutely aware of the interrelations between health, ecosystems, supply chains, consumption patterns, and planetary boundaries. It is clear that we need to do much more to keep ourselves and the planet healthy. During the COVID-19 pandemic, an increase of organic food among urban consumers was reported. It was driven by increasing people's awareness of healthy food in the last decades, as well as by the more frequent environmental consciousness among younger people. Moreover, in Europe, one of the goals of the European Commission is to ensure both animal and plant health, as well as a high level of food safety within the EU and non-EU countries in relation to their exports and imports to the EU. The Farm and Forest strategy is a new comprehensive approach to how Europeans value food sustainability. The Farm to Fork strategy is at the heart of the European Green Deal, aiming to make food systems fair, healthy, and environmentally friendly. It is an opportunity to improve lifestyles, health, and the environment. The creation of favorable food environment that makes it easier to choose healthy and sustainable diets will benefit consumers' health and quality of life and reduce health-related costs for society. I'll present findings from my research on the perception of food quality. A broad definition of food quality is provided by the standard ISO 9000-2000 as the totality of features and characteristics of a product, process, or service that bear on its quality to satisfy stated or implied needs. According to the European Parliament, a safe product is any product which, under normal or reasonably foreseeable conditions of use, including duration and where applicable putting into service, installation, and maintenance requirements, does not present any risk or only the minimum risks compatible with the product's use, considered to be acceptable and consistent with the high level of protection for safety and health of persons. When the safety of the product is analyzed, the following points in particular shall be considered. The characteristics of the product, including its composition, packaging, instructions for assembly and where applicable for installation and maintenance, the effect on other products, where it's foreseeable that it will be used with other products, the presentation of the product, the labeling, any warnings and instructions for its use and disposal, and any other indication or information regarding the product. The categories of consumers at risk when using the product, in particular children and the elderly. In this figure are depicted the attributes of food that people associated with food quality. The notion of food quality rests on a complex and multidimensional concept which is influenced by a wide range of situational factors such as aesthetical, functional, sensorial, nutritional characteristics, and contextual factors such as convenience and ethical issues. At the 24th Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations Regional Conference, food quality was defined considering a three-level approach as the absence of defect, fraud, and adulteration, expected properties such as organoleptic and nutritional characteristics or resulting benefits, and the desirable characteristics likely to justify added value. Public authorities should prevent commercialization of low-quality, fraudulent, or adulterated food. People's perception of food materiality, taste, forms, colors, and texture might be understood by investigating people's statements on taste, freshness, and gustatory pleasure that food induces, which can influence their attitudes and behaviors towards food. Taste of food is generally seen as a social-cultural phenomenon shaped by ideas related to the environment, economic, and health concerns. Consumers, when discussing taste, refer to notions of freshness, the varieties of food that are available, and nostalgia for the way food used to be. Moreover, each generation develops distinct preferences as a result of the interaction between the current and traditional values and principles. In addition, millennial consumers are integrating food into their lives actively and purposely attaching more daily importance and value to it than any older generations. On the other hand, awareness of foodborne diseases is increasing, and it's impacting shopping, consumption, and preparation behaviors of consumers. One of the biggest culprits of foodborne diseases are agrochemicals, pesticides and fertilizers, which when used carelessly or by uninformed farmers can cause serious issues or even kill the users and pollute the whole food chain. It is estimated that every year some pesticides cause 25 million severe farmer poisonings, resulting in 220,000 deaths, mainly in developing countries. Guidelines that help to distinguish between the more and the less hazardous forms of selected pesticides based on acute risk to human health was realized by the World Health Organization. Different methods and instruments are currently used to investigate adulteration or contaminants in food. However, the presence of contaminants such as pesticides, heavy metal, and pathogens in food are sometimes difficult to assess, as contaminant exposure is spatially and temporally dependent and can be influenced by natural and anthropogenic factors that impact air and water quality, as well as the integrity of local harvested food sources. Moreover, as the research and framework of the European Union funded project COMPARE collaborative management platform for the detection and analysis of re-emerging and foodborne outbreaks in Europe have shown even skilled people require more knowledge and awareness for correctly categorizing dangerous species and contaminants. The legitimate expectations of users on food quality should be taken into account, and the state should assume the role of defending the interest of its citizens by implementing regulations concerning food safety and other normatives related to the nutritional balance or food services. The attribution of official seals of quality is an important driver for products quality and sales differentiation. The researchers are currently investigating the factors related to the perception of food quality, mainly for better understanding the consumer's decision making. People assess food not only in terms of nourishment and gastronomic delight, but also as a means to better health and longevity. The words healthy and nutritious are sometimes treated as synonyms. Moreover, what can be considered healthy differs when gender, age, metabolism, obesity, diseases, or other sensitivities are considered. A food generally considered beneficial to health with several positive effects in case of a certain disease can be harmful for other people suffering from other disease. At least in Europe, unhealthy diets are characterized as energy imbalance and excessive intake of saturated fats, trans fats, sugar and salt, largely due to increased consumption of highly processed, energy-dense manufactured foods and sugar-sweetened beverages, and inadequate consumption of vegetable, fruits and whole grains. Furthermore, the perceived healthiness that is defined as a consumer's expectation of products' influence on his or her state of health is found to highly correlate with the likeliness of purchasing those products. People's interest on green and healthy products is growing. During the new coronavirus crisis, high-value organic food has been procured for its safer characteristics, such as lower microbial risks and chemical contaminants. Anxiety related to health was a potential factor, as studies have shown that food safety crisis can change consumer sensitivity and beliefs about food health. However, people are purchasing organic food because they perceive it as having more health benefits, higher quality and nutritional value than conventional food. In addition, environmentally conscious consumers also believe that nutritious, fresher, and safer organic food is the best choice to their health and the environment. Considering the cultural and social influence of food quality perception, the quality of fresh horticultural crops can be defined as a dynamic composite of their physiochemical properties and evolving consumer perception, which embraces organoleptic, nutritional, and bioactive components. Genetics, agricultural techniques and technologies, and environmental factors synergistically contribute to the qualitative characteristics of crops, while cultural, socioeconomic, and marketing factors influence the people's perception and expectations of food quality. Considering the desirable characteristics likely that justify added value, it is known that consumers can obtain currently various product information both as a result of the progress in food labeling regulation as well as the development of digital technology and the internet. An increasing number of environmentally conscious people often link food quality and safety with ethical and environmental issues of products. As a result of the environmental consciousness and a growing number of direct marketing networks as alternative food networks, such as community-supported agriculture, organic farmers markets, and buyers clubs, are developing worldwide. The forms of production areas, authenticity, their associated traditions, content related to nutrition, and safety should be explicitly communicated to the people in order to generate expected added value, and for understanding when and what interventions are necessary and what are the responsibilities of each stakeholder. From the buyer's perspective, the seller in these types of markets should provide quality, safe, sustainable, and ethically produced food, while the seller expects the buyer to accept possibly higher prices, food at non-standard appearance, and to have more flexibility and patience regarding the quantity, the seasonality, and the diversity of produce on sale. In some studies, two categories of consumers were identified. Those that are price sensitive, when price has a positive direct relationship with consumers' intention to purchase organic food. When the prices of organic food is high, these may choose conventional food as a substitute for organic food. And those that are price insensitive. The consumers do not care much about the price and evaluate organic food in terms of non-price factors, such as freshness, taste, safety, and nutrition. I'll present now some aspects related to organic food in Europe. In Europe, organic food is considered as the food obtained by organic farming and the production that comply with Council regulation on labeling, feed and food law, and animal health and welfare. Other countries, such as the US, define organic food as products that have been produced using cultural, biological, and mechanical practices that support the cycling of on-farm resources, promote ecological balance, and conserve biodiversity. The European and the USDA standards for production, handling, and labeling of organic food address a variety of factors such as soil quality, animal raising practices, pests, and weed control. Furthermore, according with Article 4 of Council Regulation, the European Union established that organic food production shall be based on the following principles. A. The appropriate design and management of biological processes based on ecological systems using natural resources, which are internal to the system by methods that use living organisms and mechanical production methods, practice land-related crop cultivation and livestock production, or practice aquaculture, which complies with the principle of sustainable exploitation of fisheries. Exclude the use of GMOs and products produced from or by GMOs, with the exception of veterinary medical products. Are based on risk assessment and the use of precautionary and preventive measures when appropriate. B. Organic agriculture has restrictions of use of external inputs, for example, pesticides, synthetic fertilizers. Where external inputs are required, this shall be limited to inputs from organic production, natural or naturally derived substances, low solubility mineral fertilizers. The use of chemical synthesized inputs is permitted only in exceptional cases like where the appropriate management practices do not exist, the external inputs are not available on the market, where the use of external inputs contributes to unacceptable environmental impacts. A simple but not simplistic definition of organically produced foods is presented in the Codex Alimentarius as a holistic production management system which promotes and enhances ecosystem health, including biological cycles and soil biological activity. Therefore, the core principle of organic agriculture in Europe is the minimization of the use of external inputs, avoiding the use of synthetic fertilizers and pesticides. Hence, the primary goal of organic agriculture is to optimize the health and productivity of interdependent communities of soil, life, plants, animals, and people. In comparison, the IFOAM, an international organization, defined organic agriculture as a production system that sustains the health of soils, ecosystems, and people. Many studies from around the world describe organic food as practices that rely on ecological processes, biodiversity, and cycles adapted to local conditions, rather than the use of inputs with adverse effects. It is emphasized in many studies that organic agriculture combines tradition, innovation, and science to benefit the shared environment and promote fair relationships and good quality of life for all involved. To better understand what is organic agriculture or organic food, we should understand the differences between the goals of ecological, sustainable, and conventional agriculture. The goal of ecological agriculture is to preserve the ecosystem. The goal of the sustainable agriculture is to meet society's needs in the present without compromising the ability of future generations. The goal of conventional agriculture is to maximize profits, which is achieved through technological innovation, large capital investments in equipment, extensive use of pesticides, uniform high-yield crops, and other factors. Although organic agriculture has similar targets to ecological and sustainable agriculture, the approaches used by organic farming lie between the ecological and conventional agriculture. In my research, I investigated what instruments are currently used to assess different aspects related to food quality. I have investigated the instruments used to quantify and detect food nutrients, additives, pesticides, antibiotics, heavy metal content, and detection of allergens, microorganisms in food. Some advantages of biosensors for food quality assessment were identified in this research. For instance, for the detection of amino acid ingredients in Camellia nitidissima shea, a widely used plant in southern China that is known as the giant panda of botany, a plant that is rich in amino acids, vitamin C, gross sugar, and protein, are used instruments such as MALDI-TOF mass spectrometry or gas chromatography mass spectrometry. To quantify the food flavonoids, compounds important for human health such as for reducing free radical regulations, hormone levels, reducing infection with bacteria, and cancer development, the most used instruments is high-performance liquid chromatography, HPLC. Verification and adulteration, fraudulent activities related to nutrients in different categories of food, is currently realized by techniques of metabolomics, proteomics, lipidomics, PCR, polymerase chain reaction, enzyme-linked immunosorbent assay, ELISA, and electronic nose. Determination of different metaboloids in one analysis of food can be currently done using different instruments, mainly based on mass spectrometry. Evaluation of total polyphenolic compounds, PPHC, and ascorbic acid, vitamin C content in fruits, vegetables, fruit drinks, beverages, powdered drinks, and others, is made by several methods, mainly by HPLC, high performance liquid chromatography. A big diversity of less expensive techniques in comparison with those based on mass spectrometry were developed for the detection and quantification of polyphenolic compounds and ascorbic acid, such as ferric reducing antioxidant power, FRAP for short, and Folin chocolateo. Many health concerns are currently related to food additives. Food additives are substances that may be used for preservation, coloring, sweetening, antioxidants, and other purposes. They are defined by the European legislation as any substance not normally consumed as food in itself and not normally used as characteristic ingredient of food, whether or not it has nutritive value. Some food additives can lead to severe health issues, especially if they are excessively consumed. For instance, Allure Red, a typical water-soluble azo dye, is usually added to candies, syrups, and beverages to give a red color to food. Increasing evidence identified this substance as a determinant for some types of cancers. Therefore, assessment of food additives has a great importance. Several technologies are currently used to assess the presence of additives in food, including spectrometry, HPLC, high-performance liquid chromatography, and others. Other compounds that are currently a great health concern that could be present in food are the pesticides. According to the World Health Organization, pesticides are chemical compounds that are used to kill pests, including insects, rodents, fungi, and unwanted plants, weeds. Pesticides can be classified as insecticides, acaricides, fungicides, bactericides, herbicides, and repellents, and considering their chemical composition, the pesticides could be characterized into organochlorines, organophosphates, carbamates, pyrethroids, neonicotinoids, and triazines. Unfortunately, pesticides do not act only on their target organism. Many studies have demonstrated that pesticides cause unwanted effects to the environment and pose health risks to human beings. There's a great variety of methods for the determination of pesticides. Many are based on mass spectrometry. The most used are HPLC, gas chromatography, and ELISA, enzyme-linked immunosorbent assay technique. Increasing health concerns are related to the presence on food of heavy metals. Heavy metal pollution is a widespread environmental problem due to its non-biodegradable characteristics. Increasing levels of heavy metals such as cadmium, lead, mercury, zinc, and copper in the environment and in food represent substantial threats to living species, having toxic effects on cells that lead to many severe diseases of liver, kidney, and brain. Heavy metal ions are non-biodegradable and can be accumulated from the environment and food in human and animal bodies. Heavy metal pollution is currently associated with mining, metal melting operation, thermal power stations, and the use of metal compounds in domestic and agricultural activity. Many technologies are currently used for the detection and quantification of heavy metals in food. Many are based on atomic spectrometry. Probably someone from the audience isn't aware that we eat antibiotics. It It is necessary to know how the meat that we eat is produced to understand that many of us, without knowing it, eat antibiotics. The high population density of modern, intensively managed livestock operation results in sharing of both commensal flora and pathogens, which can be conducive to the rapid dissemination of infectious agents. As a result, livestock in these environments commonly require the use of antibiotic therapy. Antibiotics, sometimes called as antibacterials or antimicrobials, are medicines to prevent and treat bacterial infections. However, misuse of antibiotics leads to antibiotic-resistant bacteria that already is considered currently one of the biggest threats to global health, food security, and societal development. As estimated by the Center for Disease Control, each year in the US, at least 2.8 million people acquire antibiotic-resistant bacterial infections, and 35,000 die as a direct result. Antibiotic-resistant bacteria appear as a result of genetic changes, which is highly accelerated by the misuse and overuse of antimicrobials in animal farms and hospitals, lack of access to clean water, sanitation, and hygiene for both humans and animals, poor infection and disease prevention and control in healthcare facilities and farms, poor access to quality, affordable medicines, vaccines, and diagnostics, and lack of awareness and knowledge, and lack of enforcement of legislation. According to the FDA, in 2014, about 80% of all antibiotics were sold for the use of livestock farms. Antibiotic resistance leads to higher medical costs, prolonged hospital stays, and increased mortality. Quantification of antibiotics is currently done by diverse techniques such as HPLC, spectrometry, and others. From ancient to modern time, people have described the foodborne pathogens as the main cause for food safety problems. More than 250 diseases, most of them infections caused by a variety of bacteria, viruses, or parasites, are currently known to be transmitted by food products and their raw materials. In this table are presented some pathogens and the diseases they give. For instance, Salmonella enterica, which gives typhoid fever, paratyphoid fever, gastroenteritis, and septicemia, and Escherichia coli, which gives acute gastroenteritis and acute dysentery. Various conventional methods for foodborne pathogen detection are currently used, which are based on microbial cultural and colony counting immunological methods. For an increasing group in our societies, detection of allergens in food is very important. The European Food and Safety Authorities define the term allergens as the proteins or peptides responsible for the allergenicity or allergenic foods and ingredients. About 75% of allergic reactions among children are caused by egg, peanut, cow's milk, fish, and nuts. More than half of allergic reactions among adults are to fruits of the latex group and the Rosaceae family, which include apples, pears, cherries, raspberries, strawberries, and almonds, and vegetables of the Apiaceae family, which include celery, carrots, and aromatic herbs, and various nuts and peanuts. There's also a great diversity of instruments used for the detection of non-allergens and for the identification of new immunoreactive proteins such as chromatography, mainly liquid chromatography, for the preliminary separation of proteins, dipstick tests, mass spectrometry, and others. In the last years, progress in the development of biosensors have shown a possibility for a new way of testing food quality. A biosensor is defined by the International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry, EUPAC, as a self-contained integrated device, which is capable of providing specific quantitative or semi-quantitative analytical information using a biological recognition element, a biochemical receptor or a bioreceptor, which is in direct spatial contact with the transducer. The transducer is used to convert biochemical signals resulting from the interaction of the analyte with the bioreceptor into an electronic one. The intensity of the signal is proportional to the analyte concentration. Traditional laboratory-based assay for food quality assessment generally requires samples to be transported to a centralized diagnostic laboratory for testing, long and complex sample pre-treatment techniques, a large number of chemical reagents, for instance, sometimes toxic solvents, specialized laboratory material and equipment, and expensive detection instruments and experienced and highly trained personnel. The progress in nanotechnologies, that is nanomaterials, carbon nanotubes, graphene, carbon graphene, quantum dots, metal nanoparticles, dendrimes, metal organic frameworks, micro nanofluidics, and signal amplification techniques largely contributes to the miniaturization, portability, increased sensitivity, specificity, good stability, rapid response, easy operation, and low cost of biosensors. Biosensors can be based on optical transducers, based on fluorescence, absorbance, reflectance, colorimetry, chemiluminescence, surface plasma resonance, surface enhanced Raman scattering, resonance relay scattering spectra, electrochemical transducers, piezoelectric, mass sensitive transducers, and thermal transducers. The electrochemical biosensors used different techniques to provide the signal that are associated with the food compounds, such as voltammetry, amperometry, conductometry, potentiometry, and electrochemical impedance spectroscopy. Examples of biosensors available nowadays are the plant bead produced by Phytech, which monitors water that plants receive, soil moisture and temperature, and printed electronical sensors for pesticide assessment. So, what are the takeaways from this presentation? People often evaluate food in terms of colors, taste, nutrients, freshness, and price. Awareness on healthy food, environmental consciousness, and knowledge on techniques and technologies for food quality assessment are changing the perception of food. Different instruments are currently used for the detection and quantification of food nutrients, additives, pesticides, antibiotics, heavy metal content, and the detection of allergens and microorganisms in food. Recent advances in biosensors for food assessment development paved the way for the easier in larger scale information on food along the food ecosystem. Given that organic food promotes and enhances the ecosystem health, including biodiversity, people often hold positive attitudes and behaviors towards organic food. Organic food is more environmentally friendly than conventional food, and organic food produced and distributed in alternative food networks are progressively becoming the key for sustainable development. Okay, so thank you very much. If you have any question, please ask.